Hey there, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you could join me today for what's going to be an incredible deep dive into one of the most fascinating and mind-blowing coin stories out there, the 1999 1-cent coin, a simple penny that's worth a mind-boggling $31 million. Yes, you heard that right, $31 million, and it all comes down to a series of errors and mistakes, some of them so unique and rare that they've transformed this tiny piece of currency into an ultra-valuable collector's item. Now, before you think this is just another coin tale, let me assure you this story is far from ordinary, because the 1999 1-cent coin, due to its incredible and rare flaws, has become a symbol of how small errors, mistakes, and manufacturing quirks in the minting process can lead to astronomical values that no one saw coming. And understanding the possibilities behind this penny's worth involves unraveling a few key details. It all started when the US Mint struck a series of 1999 pennies, which were supposed to follow the regular designs, but because of certain errors in the production process, some of these pennies became almost mythical in the coin collecting world, and that's why they're worth such a ridiculous amount of money today. But what exactly happened? Well, as you probably already know, the US Mint creates millions of pennies every year, but in 1999, a few of these pennies, specifically those struck with mistakes, became incredibly valuable due to the rare and unlikely errors. Some of the most well-known of these mistakes were related to the design of the coin, which was supposed to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the US Mint, but instead, it featured a misalignment of certain design elements, which became one of the first major mistakes that increased their rarity and value. At first glance, these coins may seem like any other penny, but when experts started to look closer, they realized that the design had a lot of differences from the original, including issues with the positioning of certain elements, where the images of liberty and the date were found to be misaligned, which wasn't supposed to happen. These kinds of alignment errors are incredibly rare and don't happen often, so when one of these pennies surfaced, collectors immediately took notice. But that's not all. Another key factor that made the 1999 penny so valuable was the famous wide AM error. Now, let me explain that a little more clearly. In the design of the penny, the letters AM in America were supposed to be touching each other, but in some cases, there was an extra space between them, a noticeable gap, and this error made it stand out, increasing its rarity. This error occurred when the dies used to strike the coins weren't properly aligned or adjusted, causing the letters to print incorrectly on the coin. As you can imagine, coins with this kind of flaw are incredibly rare, and a lot of collectors were eager to get their hands on one. In fact, the wide AM error was so significant that it became one of the defining features of these valuable pennies, and it turned into a treasure for those in the numismatic world who were able to spot it. Now, you may be wondering how these errors could lead to such a huge sum of money. Well, it's all about supply and demand, and the fact that there are so few of these mistake coins in existence. When you take into account the vast number of pennies that were made in 1999, and the fact that only a tiny fraction of them contain these critical errors, you start to understand why the price tag is so high. It's a combination of rarity and historical significance that makes these pennies so highly sought after, and it's not just the wide AM error that makes the 1999 penny so valuable. There are other mistakes, too, like the off-center strikes, where the die used to strike the coin wasn't properly aligned with the planchet, the piece of metal that gets struck to create the coin. This can result in coins that look like they're missing part of the design or have an off-center imprint, and in the case of the 1999 penny, some of these off-center strikes have become highly valuable, especially when they're in good condition. Another error that helped boost the price of these coins was the so-called double die error, which happens when the coin's design is struck multiple times, resulting in the images appearing doubled or blurry, and this could happen if the die used to strike the coin was misaligned or if there were issues with the press that struck it. These types of errors are highly collectible, especially when they're on a coin as famous and historically significant as the 1999 penny. Now, collectors who specialize in finding these rare and valuable coins are always on the lookout for these types of mistakes, but the fact that the 1999 penny has such a rich combination of errors, including the wide AM and other misprints, has created a huge demand, and that's why the price has soared to such unbelievable heights. When you start to think about the level of detail and precision that goes into minting coins, it's easy to see why even a small mistake, like a slight misalignment of the design or an off-center strike, can cause a coin's value to skyrocket. These mistakes are rare enough that they don't happen often, and when they do, they create a one-of-a-kind item that collectors are eager to own. Another reason the 1999 penny is worth so much money is because of its historical significance. After all, this coin was struck to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the US Mint, and while most of the coins that were struck in 1999 were ordinary and nothing special, these era coins have become a symbol of how mistakes in history can end up creating something far more valuable than anyone could have ever imagined. So, when you hold a 1999 penny with one of these errors, it's not just a coin, it's a piece of history, and that's why it's so valuable. Some of these coins, especially those in pristine condition, have been sold for over $31 million, and that's a number that is hard to wrap your head around when you think about the fact that it all started with a humble penny, a coin that most people would have just tossed aside. And yet, these small mistakes have transformed that penny into a rare and sought-after piece of numismatic history, worth more than anyone ever expected. It's also important to mention that not all 1999 pennies are worth this kind of money. It's the specific errors, like the wide AM or the off-center strikes, that make them so valuable, and even then, the condition of the coin is crucial. Coins that have been well preserved, with minimal wear and tear, are the ones that command the highest prices. For example, a penny that has a noticeable error but is heavily worn from circulation may not fetch much more than a regular penny, but if the coin is in mint condition with the error intact, the value goes up exponentially. So, what does this all mean for coin collectors, and why should you care? Well, if you're someone who enjoys collecting coins or is just getting started in the world of numismatics, the 1999 penny with one of these rare errors could be a perfect addition to your collection, and it's a great example of how the world of coin collecting works. It shows that even the most seemingly insignificant and ordinary items can become valuable over time, and that a little bit of history and a few manufacturing mistakes can lead to a treasure trove of riches. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting your feet wet, this incredible story of the 1999 penny is a reminder of how the world of coins is full of surprises, and how sometimes the most unexpected items can turn out to be worth a fortune. So keep your eyes peeled, because you never know when you might find a coin that could be worth millions. Just like the 1999 penny that went from being a simple 1-cent piece to a legendary item worth $31 million. Next, we're talking about a coin that's barely worth a cent in terms of face value, but because of a series of rare errors and mistakes, this simple 2005 1-cent coin, or penny, has become a goldmine worth a jaw-dropping $13 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, worth millions. You might be wondering how on earth that's possible. How could a penny, something that's barely worth anything on its own, become such a highly sought-after treasure? Well, the answer lies in a number of rare manufacturing mistakes that happened during the minting of these coins, and the story behind it is truly fascinating. As we peel back the layers of this coin story, you'll begin to see just how even the smallest of flaws can lead to massive value in the world of coin collecting. So let's jump into it, starting with the key errors and mistakes that make this 2005 penny so unique and valuable. It all began with the production of pennies at the US Mint in 2005, a year when a particular series of coins were struck with some unusual and unexpected flaws. For most people, a penny is just another coin to toss into the jar or use to pay for small purchases, but for the eagle-eyed collectors and coin enthusiasts, this penny is anything but ordinary. The minting process, which is supposed to produce millions of identical coins, doesn't always go as planned, and occasionally, some coins slip through the cracks with errors that make them rare and valuable. This particular 2005 penny is famous for having one such error, the double die error. Now, if you're new to the world of coins, you might not be familiar with the term double die, but let me explain it for you. A double die occurs when a coin's design is struck multiple times, and each time it's struck, it's not perfectly aligned with the previous impression, which results in the image appearing doubled or blurry. This can happen if the die used to stamp the design onto the coin is improperly aligned or if there's a malfunction in the press that strikes the coin. In the case of the 2005 penny, the doubling wasn't subtle, it was so apparent that even those with a casual interest in coins could notice it. The most significant instance of the double die error on the 2005 penny was found on the obverse of the coin, where the lettering Liberty and the date, 2005, were struck with visible doubling. To collectors, this kind of error is a huge deal, because a double die penny isn't something you see every day, and when one does surface, it's considered a true treasure. But that's just one of the errors that make this coin so valuable. Another mistake that occurred during the minting of the 2005 pennies had to do with something as simple as the placement of the design on the coin, leading to a phenomenon known as the off-center strike error. Essentially, this error happens when the coin's die isn't properly aligned with the planchet, which is the blank piece of metal that gets struck to create the coin. When this misalignment happens, the design isn't fully imprinted onto the coin, and part of the design can be missing or offset. For the 2005 pennies, the off-center strike resulted in coins that looked almost incomplete, with part of the image shifted to the edge of the coin, and sometimes even causing the lettering to be cut off or blurry. These off-center strikes were extremely rare, and just like the double die error, they made the 2005 penny a highly collectible item, especially since they were so few and far between. Now, let's talk about another issue that caused some of these 2005 pennies to skyrocket in value: the die break error. A die break occurs when there's a flaw in the die itself, which is the metal stamp that is used to strike the design onto the coin. If the die cracks or breaks during the striking process, parts of the design can be missing or distorted, and the result is a coin that looks completely different from a normal one. On some of the 2005 pennies, collectors discovered that the dies used to strike the coins had developed cracks or breaks, which caused the coins to feature some unexpected and irregular markings, which only added to their rarity. When a die break happens, it essentially means that the coin is the result of a damaged or worn-out die, which makes it a true one-of-a-kind piece. But what really drove the value of the 2005 penny up to an incredible $13 million wasn't just these specific errors, it's the fact that they're all extremely rare. Out of the millions of pennies minted in 2005, only a handful of these error coins were ever found, which means they're incredibly hard to come by. The rarity of these coins is what makes them so highly prized by collectors, who are willing to pay outrageous amounts of money to get their hands on one of these rare pieces. Imagine the odds of stumbling upon one of these error coins in your pocket change. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, and that's exactly why collectors are willing to shell out millions for these seemingly ordinary pennies. But of course, rarity isn't the only factor that makes these 2005 pennies so valuable. The condition of the coin also plays a significant role in determining its worth. A coin that's in pristine, uncirculated condition, with no signs of wear and tear, is far more valuable than one that's been circulated and is covered in scratches or dirt. The fewer imperfections a coin has, the more valuable it is, and this principle holds true for the 2005 penny as well. Coins that have been kept in mint condition, with sharp and clear images of the errors, can sell for a premium, while those that have been damaged or heavily worn tend to be worth less. But even a coin with visible wear and tear can still be worth a significant amount of money if it features one of the rare errors like the double die or off-center strike. It's this combination of rarity, historical significance, and the uniqueness of each coin that has pushed the value of some 2005 pennies to over $13 million, and as a result, these coins have become the holy grail of coin collectors, with buyers and sellers constantly on the lookout for the next big find. And let's not forget that the value of these coins isn't just driven by the errors themselves, but also by the story behind them. Every rare coin has a story to tell, and when it comes to the 2005 penny, that story is one of missed opportunities, technological flaws, and the unpredictable nature of the minting process. It's a reminder that even the smallest of mistakes can lead to huge financial rewards, and in the case of the 2005 penny, that mistake was more than just a lucky break, it was a once-in-a-lifetime chance for collectors to acquire a piece of numismatic history. The excitement around these error coins has only increased over time, as more and more collectors continue to hunt for them, and every now and then, one of these pennies pops up for auction or private sale, with collectors eagerly bidding on it, knowing full well that it could be worth a small fortune. The fact that a 2005 penny could be worth $13 million speaks to the strange and unpredictable world of coin collecting, where the value of an object isn't necessarily tied to its size, weight, or intrinsic value, but rather to its rarity, condition, and the story behind it. So, if you happen to come across a 2005 penny in your change, make sure to take a close look at it. You never know, it could be one of those rare error coins that's worth more than you ever imagined. Even if it's not worth millions, the simple fact that it might be a rare and collectible piece is enough to make it a valuable find in its own right. And while it's unlikely that most people will come across a $13 million penny in their lifetime, the story of the 2005 1-cent coin is a fascinating example of how even the smallest errors can lead to enormous rewards in the world of numismatics. So, if you're just starting out in coin collecting or you're a seasoned veteran looking to expand your collection, keep your eyes peeled for those rare, error-filled pennies because they could be worth far more than their face value, and who knows, you might just find a coin that's worth millions. The story of the 2005 penny serves as a reminder that the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and that a little mistake in the minting process can turn an ordinary penny into an extraordinary treasure. Last. Today we're talking about the 2013 1-cent coin, or penny, which, thanks to a series of rare and unexpected errors during the minting process, is now worth a staggering $6 million. Yes, you heard that right, $6 million for a penny, a single coin that you could easily find in your change, but one that carries an incredible story of rarity, mistakes, and sheer luck. It's amazing to think that such a small, seemingly inconsequential item could become one of the most valuable pieces in the world of numismatics, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the fascinating journey of how a humble penny made its way from being a simple part of our everyday currency to being a collector's dream worth millions. So, how did this penny go from being a mere 1-cent coin to a multi-million-dollar item? Well, it all comes down to a series of minting errors and manufacturing flaws that happened during the production of the 2013 pennies, some of which were so rare that they immediately caught the attention of expert collectors and numismatists alike. The first major error that contributed to the inflated value of the 2013 penny was the infamous double die error, one of the most sought-after and well-known mistakes in coin minting. The double die error occurs when the design of the coin is struck multiple times, but not aligned properly with the previous strikes. This results in a doubling effect on the letters and images on the coin, which are clearly visible to anyone examining the coin closely. On the 2013 penny, the doubling was particularly noticeable on the date, 2013, and the word liberty, which were struck with a clear, noticeable duplication. This error was rare, but when it was discovered, collectors and experts quickly realized that a double die penny from such a recent year was extremely unusual, making it a true treasure for those in the numismatic community. Now, at first glance, you might not notice the doubling, and that's part of what makes these coins so valuable. Most people wouldn't think to look for such minute details, and as a result, many of the error coins went unnoticed in circulation, which only added to their rarity. This is where the true value of these coins lies. They're incredibly difficult to spot in everyday life, but when they're found, they become a highly coveted piece of numismatic history. While the double die error was one of the most prominent, it wasn't the only mistake that made the 2013 penny worth such a fortune. Another error that contributed to the penny's sky-high value was the off-center strike error, which occurs when the die that strikes the coin is not properly aligned with the planchet, the metal disc that gets struck to form the coin. When this happens, the design can end up being off-center, with parts of the coin's image missing or shifted to the edge. In the case of the 2013 penny, some of the coins that were struck off-center showed parts of the design cut off, creating a dramatic and unique look that's instantly recognizable to collectors. These off-center strikes are extremely rare, and when you factor in the fact that they occurred in the same batch of pennies as the double die errors, it becomes clear why these coins are so valuable. They're part of a very special group of error coins that are highly desirable to collectors who are constantly on the lookout for rare and unique pieces to add to their collections. But the 2013 penny didn't stop at just double die and off-center strikes. There was another key error that played a huge role in increasing its value, and that was the die crack error. A die crack happens when the die used to strike the design onto the coin becomes cracked or damaged over time. As the die ages and is used repeatedly to strike coins, it can begin to develop small cracks, which can leave permanent marks on the coins it strikes. In the case of the 2013 penny, several of these coins were struck with die cracks, leaving visible lines or imperfections on the surface of the coin. While die cracks are not as rare as double dies or off-center strikes, they still add to the coin's uniqueness and rarity, and when combined with the other errors, they contribute to the penny's significant value. To make matters even more interesting, some of the 2013 pennies that were struck with these die cracks were also discovered to have been produced using defective planchets, the metal discs that are stamped with the design. A defective planchet is one that is improperly formed or has defects like warps, cracks, or even foreign objects embedded in the metal. When this happens, the result is a coin that looks completely different from the typical penny, sometimes with strange markings or uneven surfaces. These defective planchets are extremely rare, and when you find a penny that was struck on one, it becomes a highly valuable item to collectors. In the case of the 2013 penny, a few of these defective planchets were discovered, and their rarity only added to the value of the coin. Now, I know what you might be thinking: how could all of these errors, even when combined, result in a penny being worth millions of dollars? It all comes down to the concept of rarity and demand in the world of coin collecting. The US Mint strikes billions of coins every year, and most of them are made to be uniform and error-free. So when a mistake does happen, it's rare, and the number of error coins that make it into circulation is incredibly small. As a result, these coins become highly sought after by collectors, who are willing to pay premium prices to acquire them. The fact that the 2013 penny contains multiple errors, including the double die, off-center strike, die cracks, and defective planchets, makes it even more unique and valuable. The rarity of these errors is what drives the demand, and the more people who are aware of the value of these coins, the higher the price goes. Now, the value of these error coins can vary depending on a few factors, such as the condition of the coin, the severity of the error, and how rare the specific mistake is. Coins that are in pristine, uncirculated condition with sharp, clear images of the errors will naturally fetch a higher price than coins that have been heavily circulated and are worn down. Similarly, the more severe the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. For example, a 2013 penny with a minor double die error may not be worth as much as one with a major doubling effect, and a penny with a small die crack may not be as valuable as one with a large, prominent crack. So, while not every 2013 penny with an error will be worth millions, those with the most extreme and rare mistakes can still command incredibly high prices, and this is why some of these coins have sold for upwards of $6 million in auctions. It's important to note, though, that the market for these coins is constantly shifting. Like any collectible item, the value of error coins can fluctuate over time, depending on factors like demand, condition, and availability. However, the 2013 penny, with its combination of rare and unique errors, is likely to remain one of the most sought-after coins in the world of numismatics for many years to come. Now, you might be wondering if there's any chance of you stumbling upon one of these rare 2013 pennies in your pocket change. While it's definitely not an everyday occurrence, it's not entirely impossible either. With millions of pennies being minted each year, there's always a small chance that you could come across one of these rare error coins, especially if you're paying attention and looking out for the key signs of the mistakes, such as doubling on the date or the word liberty, off-center strikes, die cracks, or defects in the metal. And who knows? Maybe you'll find a 2013 penny worth thousands, if not millions. But whether or not you come across a valuable error coin, the story of the 2013 penny serves as a fascinating reminder of how small imperfections can lead to huge rewards in the world of coin collecting. What started out as a simple, everyday penny has now become one of the most valuable and sought-after coins in existence, thanks to a series of rare errors and mistakes that were made during the minting process. It's a testament to the unpredictable nature of coin production and the incredible world of numismatics, where even the smallest mistake can turn a common coin into a priceless treasure. So, if you're a collector, or if you're just interested in the world of rare coins, the 2013 1-cent error penny is a perfect example of how sometimes the most valuable items are the ones that seem the least likely to be worth anything at all. It's a story of rarity, of mistakes, and of the unexpected treasures that can emerge from something as simple as a penny.